What is sleep? Let's start to build our foundation in sleep. Whenever I discuss sleep, I always find it to be interesting to reflect on historical medical perspectives of sleep. Why? Because a lot of our culture is rooted in these erroneous perspectives. Going back to 400 to 500 BC, a Greek physician named Alcmaeon suggested that sleep was a spell of unconsciousness brought on by the lack of circulation to the brain because of blood draining from the body surface. Similarly, Aristotle also suggested sleep to be an arrest of consciousness, but not in the brain, in the heart instead. The theory of sleep being a temporary coma or a period of inactivity that seemed to follow a day-night or circadian pattern persisted until the 1920s when the electroencephalogram, or EEG, was developed. EEG allows the ability to evaluate the electrical activity of the brain and identified that sleep was definitely not a temporary coma. In the 1930s, there was the initial characterization of different characteristics observed in sleep. However, it wasn't until the 1950s that REM, or rapid eye movement, sleep was identified, which subsequently led to the ability to characterize REM and non-REM sleep in the cycling or ultradian pattern that exists during sleep across the night. The study of sleep exploded from this point forward. However, the idea of less sleep is still persisted. For example, in 1989, Jim Horn suggested that sleep consisted of core and optional sleep, where the first third of the night was necessary and the rest could be optional. So you can see why many of us have adopted a sleep when I am dead mentality. Unfortunately, this mentality will only get you there a lot quicker. Thanks to Dr. Rexhoven and his team, also in 1989, the critical importance of sleep to health was made quite evident by their frequently referenced sleep deprivation experiments conducted in rats. What did they find? Well, total sleep deprivation resulted in the death of all rats within 2 to 3 weeks. Selective deprivation of non-rapid eye movement and rapid eye movement sleep also resulted in the death of the animals, but over a slightly longer period of time. Progressive sleep deprivation resulted in rats becoming hypermetabolic, losing weight despite eating more. They developed skin lesions and erosions of their GI tract, had an inability to regulate their temperature, and ultimately died. Further studies show that these rats died of sepsis, an overwhelming infection, providing suggestion that sleep also impacts the immune system. We now know that sleep is a brain-derived homeostatic process, meaning it's something your body must do to maintain optimal physical, cognitive, and psychological status. There are clear developmental changes in sleep that are observed over time and follow similar developmental changes we expect to see over time in a baby to a child, to a teen, to an adult. As you can see by this graphic, the pattern of sleep seen in a baby is different from a toddler and forward. In early infancy, the most sleep is needed, but it's divided across a day, with the longest stretch at once occurring in the night. As we age, the shift to consolidation at night with a reduced total duration in 24 hours occurs with daytime napping stopping around 5 years of age. To plant the seed now on its relationship to learning, these patterns make neurodevelopmental sense too. The baby that needs to learn everything and should have more sleep with more frequent bouts, where the 5-year-old will miss out on educational and social opportunities that are critical for their development if they were sleeping in the day. So, are you getting the right amount of sleep? If you answer no, or even if you're not sure, then consider checking out our sleep hygiene and scheduling resources and incorporate some of these tips to create a healthy bedtime routine. During the day, limit caffeine and try to avoid it within 6 hours of bedtime if possible. Avoid napping. If you need to, limit it to 20 minutes. Have a consistent nightly wind-down routine that helps your brain associate this routine with going to sleep. Only get into bed when you are sleepy If you're not sleepy, continue your wind down routine to promote an easier transition to sleep. Try to go to bed and get up at the same time every day, or at least within 1 hour of that time. This helps build your homeostatic sleep drive, which you can learn more about in our next video.